playing Ryan's game, talking Nashville all the way, sipping beers and memories play. White House fields where we shine, under 8 we had our time, kicking dreams in golden sun, laughing till the day was done. Electric gold forever, brothers in this weather, Nashville's beat we tether, electric gold forever.
Happy New Year, everybody. This is Electric Gold. You probably didn't expect to hear from us so soon, but it's a new year, a new day, and we have been jonesing to talk about some soccer and whatever else has been going on for the past few months. I'm Ryan. I'm here with John and Evan. Guys, Happy New Year. How you doing?
Fantastic. Happy New Year, boys.
Happy New Year, boys. Doing great.
This is New Year's Day. We rang in 2025 last night. Did you guys do anything special on New Year's Eve?
I got extraordinarily drunk.
Okay.
And
Yes.
sang karaoke.
Oh,
That's our tradition at the Lewis household. Karaoke.
and what was your big hit of the evening?
Well, usually I do Mr. Roboto, but I did not perform Mr. Roboto by Styx last night. Instead, I did a duet with my brother, and oh my God, it's the artist is, oh man, it's killing me. All right, I should have been more prepared.
You didn't know I was going to ask that.
Callanan, and the song is called Big Enough. And if you've never heard it, it's the most ridiculous song ever recorded by anyone at any time ever. It involves a power yodeler. At some point, it lists all the countries of the world and religions, and still it's somehow like kind of a bromance like country song.
Wow. Did you know about this song prior to singing it in karaoke?
I've worked on it for a long time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've been honing this one.
I have.
For your repertoire.
It's in my repertoire for sure.
Excellent. Evan, did you do anything for New Year's?
Yeah, just hung out with the kids, kept them fed, and we watched the year-end review shows. And I didn't make it until the ball dropped, but they did. And so, yeah, we had a good time together.
Awesome. Yeah, I have for a while now, as I've gotten older, considered New Year's Eve to be amateur night. You know, there used to be a time in my life, and I'm sure for you guys as well, where it meant getting out on the town, hanging out with big crowds, shoulder to shoulder, getting really sloppy drunk, making a lot of bad decisions. Those days are long gone, guys. And looking back on it now, I realize what an amateur I was. And real professional drinkers do it on a Tuesday in August, not on New Year's Eve. So,
well, sometimes I still do it on New Year's Eve too. I just don't go anywhere and do it.
No, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
I'm not
like, you don't get out.
Take me home.
No way.
Yeah.
So stay safe at home. And that's the best way to ring in the new year. Well, good. I'm glad to be with you guys. We have not spoken since the end of the soccer season. Of course, Nashville had a pretty tough season, and we're going to dig into all the things that have been going on this offseason and get our listeners prepared for the 2025 season that will be beginning in February. But before we do that, of course, we always like to go around and chat about what we're drinking this evening on New Year's Day. And John, let's start with you.
So I'm drinking a very special drink tonight. It's from right here at White House, Tennessee. And I had never really tried this before. It's called water. They've got, check this out. It's got 2 parts hydrogen to 1 part oxygen. And it is delicious, guys. It is so good. And I never really drank water. I'm always drinking beer. So this is a whole new experience. Because water is in beer, but usually, there's other stuff in there too. So yeah, water is the future.
We're going to see if this podcast is really dull since you're not drinking.
It is an experiment.
We'll see how charming we really are. Evan, what are you having this evening?
Well, since I drank water last night. I am actually having a Sam Adams winter lager here tonight with you guys. It's a crisp bock with orange peel and cinnamon and ginger. It's really bright and warming, which is, of course, exactly what I need with this polar vortex or whatever it is that's moving into the area. So, yeah, that's what I'm having tonight.
Can't go wrong with just about any Sam Adams product. And I love the winter lager. I just think it's so refreshing in the middle of the winter. For me, I am actually following in John's footsteps. The detox is on. It's New Year's. We're going to talk about resolutions a little bit later. And I'm not stopping drinking forever or anything like that.
God.
But I definitely, I mean, I'm not a bad man, but I do need to, I think, put health as a priority a little bit more, cut down on some calories, that sort of thing, at least for the first 2.5 weeks of the year until I fall off the wagon and get back to my normal self. So
until February 22nd.
I'm just having, that's right. That's right. Until the first home game of the season. So for now, I'm drinking some H2O myself, Nashville's finest, filtered through my refrigerator, and it's delicious. So not a very exciting.
Came up with water.
Yeah, what a great invention. Not a very exciting round of drinks, but thank you, Evan, for continuing to carry the torch for us.
You can count on me, boys.
We're not completely embarrassing. All right, guys. Well, this is a special episode, a New Year's episode. We don't have our normal segments that we're going to do tonight. Instead, we've just got some New Year's themes, sort of things that we want to talk about. But first, we're going to just dig into talking about the team's offseason. And it has been an eventful one as I was putting together the list of everything that's been going on for Nashville Soccer Club since the end of their season. I came up with a whole lot of stuff. Once I put it all together, I was like, wow, they've actually made a lot of different moves. So what I thought might be fun is to go through each one of these, and I'd love to get your grades and opinions about each individual move that Nashville Soccer Club has done. And because there are so many, we're going to try and go pretty quickly here. So the first section really is just the roster decisions that were made back in early November 6th, was the official roster decision day. And just quickly, I'd love to get some reactions from each of you. Grade them A, B, C, D, F. Give your thoughts on each one of these. Evan, we'll start with you. These first few are going to be the options that they exercised on some people's contracts. First one would be Julian Gaines, our young defender. They exercised the option on him.
Yeah, I'm grading this one an A. I was really excited to see Julian come on towards the latter part of the season and really show some great potential. And with his ability to come right in and do that job so well, show his quality at his age, I just think this is a no-brainer for the club. So, yeah, A.
John, what do you think?
Yeah, A. Obviously, the team are high on him because of later moves that we will talk about, I guess, here in a minute. I'm sure we're going to be seeing a lot of them this year. He's young, got potential, play him.
The other option that we exercised, contract option that we exercised, was for Lucas McNaughton. Before you guys comment or grade on that, actually, we're going to postpone that discussion for one of the later items on this list. So just hold your thoughts there. But know that we did exercise his option in early November. There were a number of players that we also declined contract options on, 6 of them, in fact. Let's just go through them quickly. First one would be Ben Martino, our young goalkeeper. John, what was your reaction on that?
No, we never really saw him, I guess we saw more of him in Huntsville. If you're not challenging for the top spot, you might as well move on and see if there's other opportunities for him out there. So, yeah, good move letting him go.
And Evan, how was your reaction to that? What was your feelings?
Yeah, exactly the same. Didn't really see him play. Don't know what we had or didn't have there. So, yeah, might as well just move on.
And probably similar reactions for the next one that we declined. That would be Joey Skinner. He was a young defender that was on the roster. Evan, did you have a reaction on that? We didn't see him. I don't know if we ever saw him in a game.
Yeah, I mean, if we did, I don't remember it. So that probably tells you what you need to know right there. Yeah, it's good to bring guys in, give them a shot. But if they're not seeing the field, then they're obviously not challenging well enough. And let's try somebody else.
Yeah, I think he was a right back. Is that right? I mean,
yes,
he played at least in one or two of the cup games or something like that. But yeah, not much. And it's not like I've always had great options at right back. So if he's not winning a game or two, might as well let him go.
That's not going to have a big impact on what we see on the field in 2025. But this next one is Anibal Godoy. He's not coming back. He has since signed elsewhere. Did he go to, was it San Diego?
San Diego.
Yep.
Yeah. So, John, what's your grade and thoughts about losing Godoy?
A grade, I guess, a B, just because we obviously needed to get younger in midfield. So it was a move that it was coming. But just sadness, just because I really like Anibal as a player. He's a badass. It seems like just a great dude, a great leader. And obviously he scored one of the greatest goals I've ever seen in my life last year.
Yeah.
So leaves us with great memories, and best of luck to him in the future. Yeah, as long as he's not playing us.
That's right. Evan, any thoughts?
Yeah, I also graded this one a B, not an A, because obviously got some sentimental attachment to him as one of the originals, and who's given us some really great moments in his time in Nashville. But also, he's getting older. He's definitely dropped off in his play. He had a little bit of a resurgence in 24, but still the decline has been evident for a couple of seasons at least. So giving that one a B.
Okay. And another person who has seen a lot of time on the field who will not be coming back, we declined the option for Brian Anunga, another midfielder. And what was your thoughts on that one, Evan?
Surprisingly, perhaps, I also graded this one a B. I know you probably expected me to say A plus, given my track record on this podcast, but he really pleasantly surprised us in the second half of the season last year. Something clicked, and he was playing very well. He was continuing to play good defense. He started to actually contribute to the offense, and there were even maybe 2 or 3 games where he was as good as anybody on the pitch for us. So I'm going to just have to go with a B on this one. My criticisms never fully went away, or my concerns, I should say, which is that he did sometimes make some rash decisions and too often give the ball away.
Yeah, I actually am going to surprise you. I give this one a C, because it's always good to have a Brian Anunga on the team. I feel like not playing every game.
Right.
Let me be that clear about that, because he got a lot of minutes especially when BJ took over. I think he was starting almost every game. But you're going to have injuries. You're going to have card suspensions. You're going to have international call-ups. He wasn't making that much money. It's not like, it was a big amount of money that we had to dump. I personally would have kept him around. He could have been a leader for the young midfielders that we're bringing in. Maybe, I don't know. And obviously the sentimental is that he's kind of one of our little cult favorites amongst us. We
Favorite is a strong term there.
We always laugh about him, but also we kind of like him too. Yeah, I'll miss him.
I really admired his hustle and drive. I mean, he always played hard, even if he didn't necessarily have the skills to match up with some of the other players that were on the field. But his heart was always in it, and I will miss that. And I agree with you, John. I tend to think that he's probably a cheap contract that we could have kept around as just a depth piece for not much impact on our salary cap. So it was an interesting move to let him go. But I think we're going to see a theme throughout all of these moves in the offseason is that they basically flush the toilet on our entire midfield. And and we're starting over. So we'll kind of see how that shapes up through the course of as we review all these different steps. The next person that we did declined option on was Amar Sejic, another midfielder. He didn't see as much time as Godoy or Anunga. Me personally, I thought he deserved more time than some of the other folks that we saw in the midfield last year. But John, what was your thoughts on letting Sejic go?
Probably a B. I agree with you. He did look quality when he was in, but the fact that he did win over either of two coaches that we had, or three coaches last year, makes me think that fitness issues possibly. Like I would think he would have gotten a start or two. Like maybe he was a good 20 or 30 minute player, but they didn't trust him for 90 minutes. Obviously, yeah, you're totally right about the midfield. I mean, we all saw that it was a problem all year, so might as well flush it all down the drain and see what else we can come up with there.
Sure. Evan, any thoughts on Sejic?
I actually gave this one an A. The first game or two when he came to Nashville and got some minutes, he looked really promising, I thought. Seemed to be calm on the ball and make some pretty good passes, but he pretty quickly dropped off for me and never really had many goal contributions that I can recall. And I remember a few instances where we might lose the ball and in transition trying to watch him get back, and he had to have been the slowest guy on the team. I mean, he was so slow. So I don't know. I feel like he's probably more of a liability than anything. So I'm actually glad to see us move him on.
And maybe that speed is speaking to what you were saying, John, about his inability to get on the field or win over the other coaches. It's just because he couldn't keep up, Well, the final player that they declined contract on, this one surprised me. Forward Forster Ajago. And I would love to know your thoughts on this. He's young. He's a big presence. Some people thought maybe he was going to be our Sapong replacement finally. Evan, what was your grade for the Ajago move?
I graded this one a C because the more games that he got into, the more my concerns about him grew. He showed some real raw potential, some power and some energy early on. But I think we even talked about this maybe, a couple of different times is, we're going to hope that with some experience, some maturity, he might settle down a little bit, but it never seemed like he did. It just seemed like he was always a little bit playing on the edge, sometimes even crossing the line. Or I don't mean crossing the line in a bad way. I just mean just kind of playing out of control.
Sure. What did you think, John?
Yeah, I'd give it a C too, because you do hate just to let talented young players go. But on the other hand, we needed that international spot, and I'll give it an incomplete. Sometimes you get an I in school, didn't you? So
no.
No.
You got eyes?
I think I got eyes. That was that bad. But no, they incomplete because I think the spot is going to go to Wubin Spacius. Mm-hmm. And I think you basically have to split the difference and say, pick which one you're going to waste a spot on. But if they're going to be a backup forward, you can't give two international spots to backup forwards. And so I guess we'll see what Wubens is capable of this year finally.
And we even had a little bit of a conversation or texting where you were, once you reviewed his performance in Huntsville last year, it was a little bit surprising and impressive, right?
Yeah. From all accounts, he contributed as much as anybody. They were as bad a team as we were last year. I think they only won 5 or 6 games themselves. So
right.
It's kind of hard for a forward to shine, but he made quite an impression. And I can't wait to see him in the show.
Let's hope that he gets some opportunities. Now, the next moves, I guess, these aren't really moves. These are 3 players that were out of contract. I'm just going to put them all together. And they were not initially re-signed on that early November date. Those would be Josh Bauer, Brent Kallman, and Drew Yearwood. We're going to not include Bauer in this conversation because he's coming up later. But Kallman and Yearwood not re-signed, no pursuit of them, it doesn't look like, or if there was any talks, it certainly didn't manifest in any sort of agreement. So those two players are also departing. Do you have any thoughts or grades on that, John?
Oh, not too surprising. Yearwood, we thought that he looked pretty good at times, but obviously BJ didn't trust him because his minutes dropped off really, really big at the end of the year. So it's not too surprising we let him go as part of the overall midfield
Overhaul.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he was young still, but I think with the roster, wasn't he on the U22? I don't know how this. Why am I doing with a podcast? He was on a U22, I think, and so we're gonna use that for someone else, I guess. Take that expertise.
Some really insightful commentary there. Evan, what are your thoughts on the Coleman and Yearwood departing without any kind of re-signing?
Well, my first thought is John is surprisingly introspectful and less confident without a good buzz going. And so
I am not sure I've been around you in the last 30 years where I wasn't have the fear in my hands.
It's a different look for sure.
It's taken some getting used to be quite honest. But my other thoughts are, Coleman, no big deal there. I mean, he did a good job for us when we needed him, but a little on the older side. Gosh, Drew Yearwood, man, I would love to know what happened there because, after a bit of a slow start, he came on really strong and I was really high on him for a while. It's probably like one of the last people to kind of accept that he had fallen off and lost favor. I hated to see it. And I'm actually kind of disappointed that it didn't work out with him. So anyway, if and when we ever figure out what exactly happened, I'll be dying to know.
Let's start some rumors.
Want to?
Yeah, let's make some stuff up.
Was he sleeping with somebody's wife? No, I don't think so. But I remember us being shocked at how some of the game day rosters late in the season, when we were eliminated, there was nothing to play for. And he wasn't even making the bench of the game day rosters. He was completely left off. It was shocking because, he was the big acquisition that we made last year, and to not even be making the roster by the end of the season just goes to show that that was not working. Whatever that relationship was not working for some reason or other.
Wasn't he like I guess the idea behind him was that he was the Dax replacement, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Forgot about that.
That did not work out. All right. So one more roster decision day or roster day decision, whatever that is, that November 6th. One other announcement that was made is regarding the coaching staff. 2 longtime members of the coaching staff were announced to be departing. I hope that I pronounced this right. Kosuke Kimura.
Kosuke
Kimura and Matt Pickens, who both played for Nashville when they were in the USL and then became a part of the coaching staff under Gary Smith. It was announced that they are departing from the team. Now, John, you've probably got way more insight into what these positions these guys were coaching or what their specific roles or impact might have been. So I'll start with you. What's your thoughts on this?
It's not surprising, but it is sad to see them go because they have had such history with the NSC. Kosuke, I don't exactly know what his role in the coaching staff was. I suspect it has something to do with fitness because I have never seen a more fit player than Kosuke was because he was playing with us at the end of his playing career and still motoring, could outrun anybody on the field. And so I'll miss him. And then Matt Pickens, I loved Matt Pickens, and he was our goalkeeping coach. It's not surprising because obviously with a new coach coming in, they're going to want their own people. Mm-hmm. Everybody wants their own backroom staff but Matt Pickens, I will forever remember, is the subject of my favorite all-time NSC chant. And when he was playing in the USL, it went, "There's only one Matt Pickens. There's only one Matt Pickens. He saves to the left. He saves to the right. Pickens is fucking dynamite." And that song, I haven't heard people sing it in like 5 years now, but it's in my head constantly.
I love it. I love the original and unique cheers rather than the same old stuff that we always do.
Yep.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and especially the ones that are customized to the specific players that we have on the field. Evan, did you have any thoughts about these coaching changes?
I feel the same way. This is probably the most predictable of all the moves. We knew that, Callahan would move in his choices for coaching staff, but these guys are such NSC mainstays, and always loved seeing them out there on the field pregame and everything. And yeah, gonna miss those guys.
I suspect wherever Gary Smith might end up next, they might go, because they both had played for him even back when he was coaching Colorado and they won MLS Cup, 10, 13 years ago now. They obviously like Gary. Wherever he ends up, they might go.
Moving on from all of those roster decisions, we got into some of the actual transactions that happened over the course of the offseason, starting on November 19th. And this was a big announcement. The team signed Edvard Tagseth. He is a midfielder, 23 years old, out of the top tier Norwegian league, Norwegian Elite Syrian League. And the team that he was playing for was the Rosenborg BK. And John's probably watched hours and hours of the team. What is also notable, he was, as a youth, a member of the Liverpool Academy. So, Evan, have you done copious amounts of research on Tagseth to be able to give us a grade on this transaction?
No, I have not. But I'll give you a grade anyway. I won't hesitate to act like I know what I'm talking about. And so I am going to give this a B because of his age. I'm going to choose to hope that his youth and energy will come in and provide the spark that we need. And yeah, maybe he becomes a new Dax for us. What do you think?
Why not?
John, I would expect that you're probably more familiar with him. Having been a huge Liverpool fan, surely you've been keeping up with their academy for years and can remember him from 9 years ago.
Oh, yeah, obviously.
When he was an academy player, or just from, all of the Norwegian league soccer that you watch on, from day to day.
Elite Syrian guy. No, I give this grade A+++, solely on the basis that he is a Liverpool guy. And
there you go.
Hopefully he works out. He is young. And I will say this. I haven't watched much Rosenborg BK, I'll be honest with you. But I do know that they're usually one of the best teams in Norway. They used to be occasionally in the Champions League, like back in the 90s, and they would get their ass kicked by Manchester United or Bayern Munich or whatever. But he's got some pedigree. So, yeah, I think he's going to dominate MLS.
There you go.
Awesome. Well,
one other thing I meant to say is that I play, it's now called EA Sports FC, the video game that used to be FIFA. And I went ahead and signed Tagseth to my team.
Yeah.
And weirdly, they have him listed as a left back. Now,
interesting.
That's all the information I have. I looked up Rosenborg's lineups, and he almost always played like a central midfield. So I don't know if he can play left back.
Yeah, that's weird because I think maybe the Broadway Sports article about his signing maybe showed kind of a heat map where he tended to play more on the right side of the field and all up and down. Definitely a midfielder and more on the right side, if I remember correctly.
Maybe EA have no idea. Maybe they've watched a Norwegian league game. We might have just exposed something there.
There you go. Maybe this whole rebranding was taking way more of their attention than actually grading the players properly. The next transaction that we made, this one is a little bit more familiar, something that you guys can comment on, was the re-signing of Josh Bauer. He wasn't initially, the option wasn't extended for him, but we did re-sign him to a new contract on December 10th. It's through the end of 2026 with an option for 2027. Just as a refresher, he's a defender. He played a lot of minutes for us last year, especially once Lucas McNaughton was injured, Bauer was one of our primary defenders, especially on the right. And he is 26 years old. What's your grade for this, John?
A B, because he is like one of those guys you need, because he can play right back or center back. It's not a great sign if he's playing every single game for 90 minutes, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But you're going to have cards, call-ups, whatever. You need people that are flexible, and he doesn't make a lot of money, so why not keep him? He's a decent option back there.
What do you think, Evan?
Yeah, I also graded this one a B. He's not going to be a game changer, but he stepped up and did a good job when needed this past season. In fact, it was his best season in MLS so far. And yeah, he's still got plenty of time left in his career to, improve. And so, yeah, I like this.
Again, I feel like he was a solid, reliable defender. He definitely wasn't someone who just like jumped off the field to me that was just like, wow, he is really affecting this game. But he was fairly reliable in most of the situations. I agree, though, you don't want to be seeing a lot of starts for him. He's a good bench defender. So the next transaction was on the end of year waivers. We claimed Javier Valdez, 21-year-old goalie off of the Houston Dynamo system. He played in the MLS Next League last year for Houston Dynamo 2. He's also a Dominican Republic national team player. He played in the Olympics for Dominican Republic. And I don't know if you guys know much about Javier. I'm not sure how he pronounces it, but we'll find out, I'm sure. Evan, did you have a grade for this waiver claim?
I graded it a B, again, because of his youth, and also because he does already have some MLS connections, some MLS experience, which if Mike Jacobs has a strength, it's finding, these hidden gems or these underrated players within the league. So, yeah, I feel good about it.
John, you're a big goalie guy.
Yeah.
Any thoughts about this? Were you familiar with this player before this signing?
I was not, sadly to say, but I still give it an A, just based on the fact that he's young. We need someone who will challenge, at the very least, Willis and Panico, and hopefully he can be that guy. The fact that he's an international really stands out to me, because that's a different ball game. You can tell that he's got experience at a higher level already. So, yeah, I'm sure he'll start the season with Huntsville unless he just blows everybody's minds in the preseason or whatever. But push those guys, make them better.
Yeah. Well, we didn't have Martino, so we needed a third goalkeeper on the roster. This is an interesting pick. I love that he has international experience, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what we might have there. The next transaction was a bit of a shocker to me. Some people might have felt like it was more obvious, but we traded Lucas McNaughton. This was on December 18th. We traded him to DC United for a whopping $150,000 in GAM. We love our GAM. There's also an additional $50K in conditional GAM, which I love conditional GAM even more than regular GAM. Of course, that means that based on his performance for DC United next year, if he hits certain statistics or milestones, we can get an additional $50,000. He's 30-year-old defender. He was out most of last year. He broke his leg early on in the Miami game, which of course led to Bauer playing so much more. John, what were your thoughts on trading McNaughton?
Well, it makes sense, but I still don't like it because he's a fan favorite and he's obviously a beautiful man. The whole team and the whole fan base rallied around him last year when the whole brouhaha with Messi went down. I just generally like the guy. He got in people's faces. He was feisty. But the weirdness of his international situation, I think, is probably the reason we had to let him go. If we're thinking about bringing in other internationals, we need that spot. And it is so bizarre that he has to count as an international since he was born in America. So, yeah, I can see why the move was made, but I still don't like it, so I'll give it a C.
Right. And just to be clear, so of course, on each MLS roster, you're allotted a finite amount of international roster spots. You can't acquire more through transactions and trades and so forth. But he was considered a Canadian player. And so he was taking up an international roster spot, which of course those can become very valuable. He's 30 years old. He missed so much of last year. That was probably their reason for moving on. What did you think about this, Evan?
Felt the same way, graded it a C. I get it with, the international issue, his age coming off this injury, but man, was he tough back there. And I'm really concerned. We got Zimmerman, no doubt about that. But in Zimmerman's absence, somebody who can be just as tough, who can be as strong of a leader. Oh man. Yeah, I don't love this. I'm concerned.
Yeah, I would have actually given it a D or maybe even an F. I thought McNaughton was our second best defender on the team, and seeing him go, I just hate it. Plus, he's a beauty. He's just a beauty of a man to look at.
Right.
All right. Well, the next one I didn't miss so much. The very next day, we traded Sean Davis, midfielder, to LA Galaxy. This was an interesting transaction, guys. We got Gaston Brugman. This is always such a challenge to get everybody's names right. He's also a midfielder. He played for the Galaxy last year. Of course, they won the MLS Cup, and Brugman was the MLS Cup MVP. He is 32 years old, so he's a bit of a veteran. We also, in that transaction, got back $100,000 in GAM. So this was something that I'm not sure I understand what the Galaxy was doing here, but I felt like this was a rare win for Nashville when it came to trades. This one really looks positive in our favor, in my opinion. Evan, what's your grade on this?
I graded it an A, and I don't even know anything about Brugman. Yeah, I like the GAM that we're getting, and I'm glad that we are moving Sean Davis on. When the first season he came to us, he played great defense, and it was so good, and he was flying all over the pitch, making so many good stops and breaking up attacks and everything that it covered up the fact that he would pass the ball, dump it backwards 9 out of 10 times, right? It didn't matter because we so desperately needed his defensive presence. The more that dropped off, the more it exposed his lack of contribution to the offense. And so by the time this 2024 season ended, I just couldn't wait to get rid of Sean Davis.
John, what did you think?
A+. Oh yeah, we fleeced the Galaxy on this one. Not that I know much about Brugman other than, hey, winning an MLS Cup final MVP is a pretty good deal. But yeah, again, Davis, we're seeking to stop being back past FC. So Brugman, from what I've seen, is a good progressive passer. Hopefully he'll be finally a Dax replacement. So his veteran status is good because he's going to be working with Yazbek and Tagseth, who are both 22, 23. So yeah, we need a veteran in there. We lost Godoy. Let's see what Gaston can do.
Yeah, I actually think this is our Dax replacement here. He had 2 assists in that finals game where he got the MVP. He can advance the ball, and just so much like the role of what Dax McCarty used to do for us. So I'm looking forward to having a stabilizing veteran presence in the middle of the field in the form of Brugman. I think, like you said, working alongside these younger midfielders, he can kind of be the anchor for this new midfield to keep everybody in line, to coach them from the field. I'm really loving this move. It's my favorite move of the entire offseason. So after that, I'm just going to quickly lump all of our super draft moves into one here, because who knows if they will ever make any impact. I've yet to see any super draft move of Nashville's make much of an impact. Can you remember?
Well, the first draft we had was amazing. We had Jack Mayer, but then our other pick was Alistair Johnston.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
By the way, is the captain of a freaking Champions League team right now. I wish we could have kept him around more.
Yeah.
His career was moving way past us. But yeah, that was a good draft, and we haven't had one pick that I think that has made it to the big league since.
Right. So they probably did the smart thing then, because they just traded the 6th pick in the draft in the first round to Colorado for $125,000 in GAM money, and that's for this year, and then an additional $25,000 for 2026. So just getting some extra cash there. In the second round, we picked. This is going to be a tough one. Halloween. I don't know. We picked this.
You got an eye on international pronunciation.
There's like four vowels next to each other. Mr. Ka from Cornell, he's a forward who scored 8 goals in 18 appearances in his senior season at Cornell. And over the course of his college career, 50 appearances, scored 16 goals and 6 assists. So I'm sure we'll see him in Huntsville. And then with the third round pick that we had, we selected Ethan Ballack from University of South Carolina. He's a winger. He had 9 goals and 5 assists in 17 starts in his senior season last year. So a couple of offensive picks there in the second and third round of the Super Draft. Any thoughts, opinions whatsoever on that? John, we'll start with you.
Well, Mr. Ka, he went to the Ivy League school, right? Cornell?
Yeah, I mean, I guess Cornell is technically Ivy League.
So maybe
most of the rest of the Ivy League would say that they don't count, but yes.
He's still probably smarter than me. I think I was no Ivy League school. So, yeah, he'll be the smart guy of the team.
Yeah, there you go.
I give it an A there.
All right. What about you, Evan?
Yeah, I mean, I just graded it a C because I don't know anything about either one of these guys, and it's such a crapshoot that I could go either way. But, hey, I mean, I guess it's encouraging that they're offensive players, right? Somebody has got to score goals for this team, right?
We have had a real lack of that in the past couple of years, so it would be nice to get some more goals. Well, guys, the final move that we've had so far in this offseason was a whopper. Just a few days ago, on the 27th of December, we traded Shaq Moore, our defender, to FC Dallas for a whopping $50,000 in GAM and another $100,000 in conditional GAM. God, I love conditional GAM. Shaq's 28 years old. He's a U.S. international. He's been on the team in the World Cup and in the Olympics, and at times has looked fantastic, but man, he seemed to disappear over the course of last season, particularly in the second half. Evan, what's your grade on this transaction?
I graded it a C because I like Shaq. And you're right, though. Something was wrong this past season. Like I told you guys off pod, it just seemed like his heart was not in it this season, which, of course, it would be hard for anybody to keep a heart with the way we were losing and giving up so many goals and everything. But there just seemed to be something off. He just did not seem like his self. And yeah, I'm going to hate to see him go. And I especially hate to see him go for so little. I mean, this just seems like we got worked pretty good on this one. We paid a lot for him and are getting almost nothing for him on the back end. So yeah, this one doesn't feel very good.
John, your thoughts?
Yeah, D. I know that he had a tough year, and I got the sense that he wasn't happy at all. There seemed to be a lot of screaming at each other coming from that side of the field to me.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, players aren't going to be happy when they're getting trounced every week. But yeah, to get so little out of him, oh my God, he's rated $1.2 million on the transfer market, the Bible of this kind of thing. So yeah, it would have been nice to get a lot more out of it. Having a U.S. international that we spent a lot of money on to get, who was seen at the time as the last missing piece.
Right.
I remember, like everybody was like, oh, now we finally have a top level right back to replace Johnston, and didn't work out here.
Yeah, he came on strong when he first joined us. I think that it's probably important to mention when discussing this transaction that his salary was a big part of probably why they were willing to move him for so little. Getting out from underneath an $800,000 annual salary really frees up a lot of funds that we can spend on other players. So just getting somebody to take his contract when he had a year that didn't justify that high of a salary is probably a big part of it. But to move on so quickly from him. He had only been with us since the summer of 22. And I don't know, it's just kind of shocking to me, him, McNaughton, that we're moving on so quickly from these players who seem to demonstrate a certain level of competency.
Callahan must feel pretty good about Julian Gaines back there.
Yeah, that's a good point. We're going to get to see a whole lot of Gaines this season, so we'll find out. All right, guys. Well, I really appreciate that. That's wrapping up our off-season moves so far. There are probably a few more to come. I certainly hope so. Our defense is going to need some work. We need to play somebody. We'll see. Otherwise, Taylor Washington is going to get a whole lot of burn. We'll see.
I'd love to just talk a little bit about Christmas. We just got done celebrating the holidays. Did you guys have a great Christmas? Did you really get into the Christmas spirit this year?
Yeah, I actually did.
Best Christmas ever. How about you?
Wonderful. Yeah, it's all right. It's hectic. There's people coming through your house. And yeah, I find myself looking forward to the day after Christmas more so than the day of Christmas itself, because that's the day I actually get to relax and enjoy it a little bit. But I was thinking about Christmas gifts. And of course, that was such a big part of the holidays, especially growing up when you're a kid. The gifts are what it's all about for you when you're younger. It's not such a big deal for me anymore at this age, but I'm sure as I think back to all the Christmases I've had, how some gifts really stood out and made the memory. And I'm sure that the same holds true for you guys as well. I'd love to hear about maybe what were the greatest Christmas gifts that still stick with you to this day that just really impacted you. Evan, what was the best Christmas gift that you ever got?
Oh, man. Well, I had a lot of good ones over the years. My parents were always really good gift givers, and so was Santa, of course. But the best one I ever got was my very first BMX bike, like big boy bike, You guys remember what it was like in the 80s growing up. Your bike was your freedom. You could just take off on your bike and meet up with all your friends in the neighborhood and just ride all over and explore the town. And, even if you got invited over to somebody else's house, your dad would just throw that bike in the back of the pickup and drive you over there. So then you could explore the other side of town. So, man, I just lived on my bike back when I was a kid. So that definitely has to be the best one I ever got.
Awesome.
What about you, John?
Yeah, I've got a child category and an adult category. The child category is so unexpected. It's not a toy. It's nothing like that. It came from a stocking. And usually, the stocking's just full of candy or, whatever doodads are just in there. I remember when I was 6 or 7 years old, I got a book in my stocking. This book, this is going to tell you how much of a dork I am, was the 1984 World Almanac. It was full of just factoids, hundreds of pages of factoids. Like I could tell you what the grain production in Afghanistan was in a given year. I could tell you, all the counties of Ireland or whatever. And that book, and I would get a new almanac every year because I loved it so much. I would sit there and read it all the time. And that started my lifelong love of trivia. And you guys know I'm pretty freaking good at bar trivia.
Monster.
Yeah. And it's all because of those World Almanacs. So good job, Mom and Dad, on that one. Adult category, 2017, I knew that Nashville had a soccer team, and, they had been kind of amateur team before. And I had friends that kept wanting me to go to games. I never could for some reason. Really regret that now. But I knew that they were going to be coming up to the USL in the 2018 season. So I was excited. I was like, I'm going to go to as many games as I can. I figured I'd go to 4 or 5 games. My wife, Natalie,
God bless
Christmas
her.
born, season ticket in the supporters section for the 2018 inaugural USL season. And I'm telling you, I was like crying. I was like, how did you do this? This is amazing. And so obviously I started going to games. And I remember the first game I went to was at Nissan Stadium, and it was against Pittsburgh Riverhounds. It was a 0-0 tie, probably the most boring game in the history of the sport. And oh my God, I was hooked. The shouting, the singing, the jumping up and down the whole game. I was like, this is what it's all about. And so ever since then, this is probably the reason I'm talking to you guys right now, is probably because my wife got that season ticket back in 2017. So God bless her. That's the best gift I ever got.
That's awesome.
When I was thinking about it, it's hard for me to come up with what my best Christmas gift ever was. I had to really wrap my brain on it. I've got a couple that really stood out to me. The first one would be in 1986. My parents got me a Tandy 1000 computer, first computer I'd ever had. And, of course, back then, most kids didn't have computers. So that was really amazing to me and, opened up a whole new world for me. Ever since then, I've been a total computer nerd and it's informed what I do for a living and stuff now. So that was important. And then the other thing that was a big impact on me would probably have been when I was my freshman year of college. I came home for Christmas and I had made a friend there at college who had started to teach me guitar, and I didn't have a guitar. He was just teaching me. And so I was saying I really wanted a guitar for that Christmas. And I ended up getting some cheap Alvarez acoustic guitar that I started to learn chords on and play. And I've been playing for 20 something years now. So really developed a love for guitars, writing songs, all that kind of stuff from that moment. So those are my two big Christmas gifts of my life. Speaking of the holidays, after Christmas, of course, is New Year's. And are you guys New Year's resolutions guys? Are you the type to make a resolution?
I like life, so no resolution.
Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
I was just curious if maybe you guys had any resolutions for this year. If there's anything that's standing out to you that you want to try and improve for yourself this year. I was curious if you had any suggestions for a resolution for the Nashville Soccer Club for 2025. Ooh. So I'd love to ask you, John, what's your personal resolution for 2025? And then what would be the resolution that you would suggest for the soccer club?
My personal resolution for 2025 is to not let the fortunes of our local professional soccer team affect my mood.
Oh, wow.
We might be good. We might not be good. And I have to learn to be zen about that and let it roll, because I'm getting to the age where if we're losing 5-0 in a game and I let it get to me, the whole thing could go kaput. I could fall over dead. And I don't want to do that. If they're good, if they're not good, okay with me. I'll just keep a podcast about it.
Right.
So the resolution for Nashville SC in that case is to be really good to keep John Lewis alive. No, I would say that the resolution for NSC, be fun. Have fun with it. Okay, so like the last game of the season, we ended up losing 4-3, but it was a fun game. I didn't go away feeling that bad about it because I had enjoyed myself. The team gave a fight, and that's really all I can ask for. I want them to fight. I want them to play with freedom, not to just go into a shell and try to eke out a 0-0 tie forever. Don't do that. Have fun. Make everybody fall in love with the team again. And you never know with MLS. Every team is basically the same. There's just tiny little differences. If you get a bunch of young guys and they suddenly get a bunch of confidence, you can win like 4 or 5 games in a row, find yourself in the playoffs. And then as we saw this year with Atlanta beating Miami, you never know what can happen in playoffs.
Yeah.
So yeah, be fun. Let the young guys play. That's my resolution.
I love it. Evan, do you have any resolutions?
Oh, gosh, let me think. I mean, should it be to hit more cross-court dinks when I'm up at the kitchen, or to eat less peanut butter? I think I'm actually going to make my New Year's resolution something. I'm going to continue something that I have recently started in 2024. I'm going to double my efforts to consciously work to cut out anyone, whether in my real life or whether it's in the media or whatever, cut out anyone who is trying to stoke fear and division among people for their own selfish gains. That's my New Year's resolution. Even if it means not watching television anymore or surfing the internet,
My God, that'd be
I'm
awesome.
really going to work hard to not be affected by anybody who's trying to dehumanize other people and thus divide us. That's my New Year's resolution, boys.
That's a very sophisticated 2025 resolution. Stay out of those comments sections.
Yeah, right. Okay, for the club, I'm going to hope that they resolve to never take the fans for granted, right? The club exists because of the fans. If there's nobody in the seats to watch the games, there's no games. Even when times are good, even if we have a good season, don't get complacent. Don't rest on laurels and never, ever take the fans for granted.
Amen.
Absolutely. You're here. So I have a long list of things that are suggestions for resolutions. There's all kinds of things I would love to do better in 2025. I alluded to it earlier. Eating and drinking more healthy, getting regular exercise, all those cliche type of resolutions. I'd like to read more and watch less television and keep myself occupied with hobbies and whatnot, learn things, and blah, blah, blah. But one thing that I'm inspired to do for sure is to dedicate more effort and energy into making this podcast as fun and successful as it can possibly be. I mean, this is just a hobby for us. It's something we do for fun, but I really want to just try and go all out to do the best job that we can with it, make it fun for the people that are listening. I'm really inspired by the survey that Broadway Sports did of the NSC fans at the end of the season. There was a lot of critical stuff that fans had for the team, but it was really interesting there was a few questions around where do the fans get their information about the team, or what do they listen to in terms of media surrounding the team. And there was even a question, I think, specifically about what podcasts do you listen to? And Electric Gold was not on the ballot. We were a write-in candidate, and yet we ended up being one of the top 4 or 5 podcasts that were listed there that were voted upon.
Amazing.
It was great. I mean, I love to see that feedback, and I'm so thankful that people find us interesting enough to subscribe and listen to us over and over again. They don't listen to us one time and go, these guys are making musicals of soccer and who knows what. I give up. I don't even understand this. So I really want to try and do my best job for those people that are listening, and maybe there'll be new listeners in 2025. So that's my personal resolution, is to find ways to elevate what we're doing.
Here, man. Let's do this.
Love it.
All right. For the team, it echoes, I think, the sentiment that you guys have both said. And for me, though, it's a lot more clinical or mathematic. It was just that the team needs to be doing their best job to put asses in seats. We saw a significant drop-off in actual game day attendance last season. I don't care what the actual attendance numbers that they would post each game say. There were not 28,000 people in the stadium each game, or whatever it was showing on the big screen. There was half that, maybe. And towards the end, it was really pathetic. The supporter section was sparse. The tailgating was uninspiring. And this team has got to find ways to put asses in seats through making a more exciting product on the field. I think that's number one. But that game day experience seems like it's lost a little bit of its luster from the first season that Geodis opened. So I want to see more fun infused into that game day experience, not just on the field, but off as well. I don't know exactly what all that should look like. That's the team's job to figure that out. But I think they have got to make a resolution or a goal to put more asses in seats. They need to be trying to sell out that stadium every week. And to be perfectly honest, their competition in Nashville for major sports, they're all sucking right now.
It's terrible. It's bad that NSC is probably the best of the three
Right.
Major League sports teams.
The Titans have had a terrible season. The Predators are looking awful right now. Vanderbilt football, honestly, is like the best thing going in Nashville. Who would have thought I would have said that?
That's bad.
And
You don't want that to be.
so this is a prime opportunity for NSC to capitalize. They could be the team of Nashville if they get their act together. So whatever they need to do, they need to get assets in seats and make it an enjoyable game day experience. That's what their resolution needs to be.
Here, here.
Since it has been so long since we have been to Geodis, we've been to a game. It's been a few months now since we've attended, and we still got better part of 2 months left until we do get to attend a game. What is it that you miss the most about going to Geodis, about that game day experience? John?
One word, camaraderie. I get to hang with you guys. We all have our families, all that boring shit, jobs and whatnot. But yeah, we get to hang out together. We get to party. We throw down. We do not clown. We do not play around. We throw down.
We get serious. We get to make fun of Alex Will.
Yeah, it's awesome. I get to hang out with and you know, all the fans, like the supporters groups. It's fun to hang out over there. It's fun to just be around people and you all have a common goal. And it's just amazing that the team even exists, in my opinion, because I remember when that seemed impossible.
Yeah.
So I do not take it for granted. Every time that I'm there, it feels magical to me. It sounds lame, but man, it's my version of church.
Wow.
Yeah. So I guess I'll go to hell, but you know, I'm going to have fun on the way.
You'll be wearing blue and gold, won't you, bud?
Right.
Evan, what do you miss about Geodis?
Oh, man. Gosh, you know, I love that initial walk up into the tailgate and finding you guys, like, you know, looking overheads, trying to find you guys. I love going up and getting empanadas with the captain. But, you know, the thing I miss the most is those beautiful moments of just collective joy, euphoria. Maybe it's a big win. Maybe it's a special moment like that Austin game when you remember when Hani and Drew Easy were kind of pitted against each other as who was going to be the MVP. And of course, Hani won the day and everybody's chanting MVP. It's just those moments of collective euphoria and unity that just is such a beautiful thing. So yes, that's what I miss the most. I cannot wait till the next time that we can experience that feeling.
I'm getting excited already just listening to you guys. I definitely miss all of these things about Geodis, the camaraderie, those special moments. I mean, it wouldn't be fun to go to these games by myself. Being able to go with you guys and enjoy it together is definitely a highlight of it. I think my favorite moment of every game is when that first kickoff happens and the game just begins and it's 0-0 and there's all the potential in the world for a great game to unfold before us. And that first cheer in the supporters section happens. You hear the capo call out, Nashville.
Yeah.
And the crowd repeats it, Nashville, come on you boys in gold.
Yeah.
And that it always just gets me so excited and pumped up, and I am ready for the game when I hear that cheer go. That gets me excited. I miss it. I can't wait to get back to it. February 22nd can't come soon enough.
Nope. I lose my mind in the off season. Like, I literally, I start to go crazy. I start doing just weird shit. Every off season, I don't know. I start having plans. Like some years I helped start a podcast. And then some years, I don't know. I just have all these crazy plans that I'm going to have for the next season. And then the second the season starts, I'm back to normal. Weirdo. Yeah.
That's what's that, like antidepressant?
Yeah, it really is. It's seasonal affective disorder. I have off-seasonal affective disorder.
Yes.
Hopefully it won't be too much longer. Hopefully you can hang on for just another 7 weeks. We'll get there.
No promises.
Guys, thank you so much for doing this. This has been a very special episode. I know we didn't really plan on doing any off-season episodes, but this has been a great one. I really appreciate that you took the time on this holiday to sit down and talk about what team's been doing, what you've been doing. Like we all just said, I'm looking forward to this next season starting and going to Geodis with you guys.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, hell yeah, son.
That's our all hell yeah moment tonight. Well, before we get going, John, we have ways that people can reach out and speak to us directly. What are those things?
Oh, yeah, we do. Instagram, X, formerly Twitter. We are Electric Gold NSC. Reach out to us. Talk to us. Tell us how awesome we are. Tell us we suck. I don't care. I'm not going to listen to you anyway. No, I will. And I'll take it to heart. No, we have Facebook, too. We have a Spotify playlist of all the incredible music that we've talked about on the podcast. And we're going to be the kings of all media in 2025. We're the Lyndon LaRouche of Nashville SC podcast. They may not put us on the list, but we're going to get the write-in votes anyway.
I sure hope that people get that reference.
That's what happens when you read the World Almanac every year.
You know, I was going to mention with that, man, the kids today, they're just missing out on that experience. Did you guys have an encyclopedia growing up?
Oh,
in
yeah.
your house?
Absolutely.
Like 30 books on the wall.
Right. And did you just like crack it open and just read articles out of the encyclopedia all the time?
Yeah.
I learned more from that than going to school, man.
This is literally true. We did go to White House schools.
And now kids today, they've got the whole internet at their fingertips all the time, the entirety of the world's knowledge. But I feel like they're way dumber.
And it bores them intensely.
Yeah, because it's too much.
When you have to work for knowledge, it becomes more exciting.
Maybe that's what we're going to stick to. But anyway, I definitely think that having an encyclopedia in your house is way more beneficial than having the internet.
Get rid of the computers, except if you're listening to our podcast.
Right. Well, guys, thank you so much. It's been a very fun episode, and we will be back at the beginning of the season to kick it off and talk about all things NSC. Please tune in. Please like and subscribe to this podcast, and we'll look forward to a great 2025. But until then, hang in there. Keep supporting your team. Keep thinking about it, and keep on saying it. Come on, you boys and
Come on, you boys and
Come on, you boys and go.
Under cities, neon lights, talking dreams on Friday nights. Electric vibes and stories told. Come on, you boys and go. Waves of laughter in the air. Podcast pals without a care. Sharing glorious thoughts out loud. Come on, you boys and go. Waves of laughter in the air. Podcast pals without a care. Sharing glorious thoughts out loud. Come on, you boys and go. Electric gold, love so gold. Every tale like treasure gold. Voices echo through the night. Come on, you boys and gold. From the highs and through the lows, shining bright where passion grows. And their words were never old. Come on, you boys and gold. Soundtrack to our endless dreams, flowing soft like gentle streams. In their stories once unsold. Come on, you boys and gold. In each beat, in every word, inspiration's always heard. Moments cherished, tales retold. Come on, you boys and gold. Electric gold, love so gold. Every tale like treasure gold. Oh, voices echo through the night. Come on, you boys and gold. Oh, electric gold, love so gold. Every tale like treasure gold.